Hello and welcome to another Israeli Frenemies, the Israeli show that brings together right and left here in Tel Aviv, here in Israel. But joining me, my long-time colleague, tonight from San Francisco, California, Ari Fuld on Skype. Hi, Ari.
Shalom, Israel.
What are you up to there?
I'm here talking a little bit about Israel, about the IDF. We have a lot of supporters here who want to support and say thank you to IDF soldiers. So I'm here meeting with them and hopefully doing some fundraising here.
That sounds wonderful. All right, Ari, so I think we should get right into the issues right now. All right, so this week there's another deterioration, or at least according to the Israeli Chief of Staff of the Israel Defense Forces, Major General Eisenkot. There is a humanitarian crisis growing in Gaza. But then again, the Minister of Defense, Lieberman, says that there's actually no humanitarian crisis. Now, according to this debate is very interesting because you have the security wing saying, you know, there's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and for us, as Israelis, we should consider this as a security threat to Israel, because if there will be a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, it can ignite violence, and it can also put a lot of pressure on Israel. The political level, on the other hand, represented by Minister Lieberman, says, you know, there's nothing to worry about. And Ari, I wonder, what do you think about it? Because, you know, the way I see it, we should listen to the Israeli Chief of Staff.
So I think that the Israeli Chief of Staff is responsible maybe for security and for military might and whatnot. In terms of humanitarian crisis, as you call it, I'm not so sure he's the address, but I just want to discuss that crisis that exists right now. You know, I don't think Israel has to be responsible for the entire world, certainly not for those who have an ideology to destroy us. You know, in Syria, there's also a tremendous war going on where ISIS is involved. We have the entire Middle East, which is blowing up with radical Islamic terrorism. I don't think that we have to, you know, put ourselves out there to help those who are trying to destroy us. In terms of Gaza, they got over $1.2 billion from the world. $1.2 billion that were used to dig terror tunnels and to buy missiles. Egypt, by the way, can supply their own brothers in Gaza with electricity, which they're not doing. I think that, you know, it's time that Israel stop having compassion for those who want to kill us. I feel bad for people who want to live, but I think that there has to be a total overhaul of ideology and philosophy of those who want to destroy us. When they start behaving like human beings, we'll be happy, like we do around the world, to help them and make sure they can live like normal human beings. I don't think we have a responsibility to help those who want to kill us.
But Ari, you know, in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, you have 1.5 million Palestinians. I don't think you think that out of these people, 90% or I don't know, 100% want to kill us. Most of the population there is, you know, poor, is suffering, and they want to live their lives. Now, you know, I met yesterday with the Commissioner General of UNRWA, the UN agency that is responsible for Palestinian refugees, and we might have, you know, a debate whether UNRWA should operate the way it does or not. I'm sure you don't like the mere existence of it. I think, you know, right now it's there on the ground. In any case, what he says is that given the $300 million cut by the Trump administration, which is what I see as a punishment to the Palestinian leadership, not to humanitarian aid, to cut down $300 million would immediately affect the fact that UNRWA gives, and I'm talking about food, giving actual food to Gazans, to hundreds of thousands of Gazans. You can say that they all don't like you and or whatever you say, but you know, these are people who are dependent on food supply by UNRWA, And by the way, they are dependent on food supply because Israel blockades Gaza. And as I mentioned before, the Israeli security establishment says this is a great danger to Israel.
I have to clear up certain facts certain things you said, which are just not true. Number one, you asked if the majority of people in Gaza hate me. Yes, over 80% of them voted for a radical genocidal terrorist, Islamic terrorist organization to govern them. So yes, according to their votes, they do want to destroy us. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the blockade that you spoke about, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand how you or anyone else can possibly say these things, which are said by the worst of Israel's enemies. Israel started this blockade after missiles were being fired, after we completely dug up the Jewish dead from Gaza. No one was left. They voted for Hamas, who started firing missiles, and we put up a blockade to make sure weapons don't go in. Israel itself sends hundreds of tons of aid into Gaza. In the years that
that's not true. Israel allows some shipments of aid. Israel doesn't spend a dime on supplies to Gaza. This is incorrect information.
I'm asking for courtesy not to interrupt me, please.
When you totally give facts that are not facts, then it's we need to say that.
I'm asking for the courtesy not to interrupt me. I will put up the numbers afterwards. You can deny it when the numbers come up. Okay, in terms of Gaza, again, billions of dollars were given. They used that money and funds for weapons and for terrorism. Again, I'll say it again. There is no responsibility, not moral, not ethical, not anything else, for Israel to supply support in any way or form those who are being governed, who voted for government, whose whole desire is to destroy Israel. Open up the Hamas charter. It is part of Hitler's Mein Kampf. And I'm not saying that lightly. They blame the Jews for everything from the Russian to the French Revolution. So no, I don't think that Israel has any responsibility, moral or not. In terms of UNRWA, let me just say one thing in terms of UNRWA. In terms of UNRWA, the school in UNRWA in the Gaza Strip was proven to have missiles under their school. First they denied it, and they said, oh, we're so sorry. Again, that organization is just as guilty as the rest. And the real problem is that, I will say it again, I don't think that, you don't think you do it purposely, but these activities, they don't care about human rights. They simply don't care. Because any deal that Israel makes with the Arab leadership, whether it's Abu Mazen or what's within Gaza, the Arab in the street actually suffers.
UNRWA is a UN agency, and a few weeks ago they found a tunnel going under one of their schools, and they sealed it. They did it. They sealed a tunnel that was going under their schools, and they flagged this fact. And they went to Hamas saying, what you do is irresponsible and you should not do that. And, most of their workers are local Palestinians who are endangered by this statement, but they did this. But, I'm asking something else before. Ari, hold on. I just want to understand. So what you're saying right now is that the Israeli military, the Israeli chief of staff, General Eisenkot, knows less about Israel's security than Ari Fold.
No, see, Ari. And the Bibi Festival is still going on by different parts of the country, obviously, rooted and applauded by the left, who seem to be frustrated they can't win an election in 12 years. Right now, the police commissioner was on a TV show where he was lambasting the prime minister, as well as other investigators in the police. And again, I will tell you that there are things that Bibi Netanyahu does which I disagree with. I'll say it flat out. I'm not a Bibi, rah, hoo, let's go Bibi. But I do believe that in all democratic countries, there is a saying and a policy that a person is innocent until proven guilty. Right now, Netanyahu, the commissioner charged Netanyahu that Netanyahu is sending investigators against the police investigators. Of course, there was no proof of that. It's actually criminal to do so. So if Mr. Al-Sheikh, the police commissioner, has proof of such a thing, he should definitely bring that up as the police commissioner and just arrest Netanyahu for that. But to go on public TV and throw out these allegations with absolutely no, due process is really, I would say, undemocratic and ridiculous. I'll say it again. If Netanyahu is guilty, throw him in jail, let him serve his time. Until that happens, let him lead the country.
You know,
I know you disagree with me,
it's
but,
amazing, Ari. No, because your opening was not that unique. What?
Let me just say one more thing. Let me say one more thing. I think the public is getting a little bit tired of this, and I think we're going to see the Trump effect here. So I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to give the left a little bit of a piece of advice. Stop. Because what happened in America with Trump.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Ari. Exactly what you said right now. You tell the left to stop. Now, you mentioned El Sheikh, the police commissioner. Let's talk about El Sheikh for a second. Who is El Sheikh? El Sheikh is a former deputy chief of Shin Bet, of the Shabak, of the Israeli General Security Service. He's a settler, okay? A settler, much like you, Ari. And he was, as you see in his picture, he wears a yarmulke, a kippah. He's a religious guy.
No,
and
he wears a yarmulke. He wears a kippah. Oh no! What does it have to do with what
Hold
we're
on,
talking
let me talk. You know, I didn't interrupt you. And this guy was appointed by Benjamin Netanyahu 2 years ago. This is the person you just mentioned as him being the left in Israel. This is the police commissioner. For God's sake, you are talking. No, Ari, let me talk. You are talking about the police commissioner. He's not the left. He's, you know, the gatekeeper, one of the gatekeepers. He's a police officer, the highest police officer. By the way, I criticize lots of his decisions as police commissioner. I'm not a big fan of his. But this guy went, you know, with all his background, the fact that he was appointed by Netanyahu himself and by Gilad Erdan, the minister of police, and this guy goes to national TV and says that there is a big suspicion that police investigators who are investigating the Netanyahu case were followed by private investigators. Now, to me, that's, you know, that's striking. The left doesn't have anything to do with that. Nothing whatsoever. This is the police commissioner of the state of Israel, who was appointed by Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a settler and is a national religious guy, much like you. He's not the left.
So
I assure you, he never voted for Meretz nor to Labor. He's not left, okay? And he's saying that.
Okay, you keep on mentioning that he's a settler and that he's wearing a kippah. If anywhere else in the world somebody would be pointing that out, that'd be called anti-Semitic.
You just called him left. You said he's left. It's like saying, liberal Jews. Come on. No. With all due respect, Ari. I'm just saying that his background doesn't fit what you said.
Because you are public TV and make allegations against the prime minister that are not founded is ridiculous. If he's guilty, let him sit in jail. The attorney general who consults with the state prosecutor is in charge of saying whether the prime minister is guilty or not the commissioner of police. The fact that a state police officer, the head of police, goes on public TV and makes unbased allegations and charges against the prime minister is absolutely ridiculous.
Perhaps. Why do you charge him as being part of the left?
It's irrelevant. It is totally irrelevant that he's religious and that he's a settler.
But you say he's left. How do you say that? You started it by saying he's left. He's the Israeli left. It's crazy, man.
No, Uri, please be a little more precise. What I said is that the left are having a field day with this because they can't, like your party.
What are we doing? We're watching TV and watching the police commissioner on TV.
The prime minister, again, if he's guilty, he should sit in jail. Until that time, he's allowed to and should rule the country. I did not say that Al-Sheikh was left. That was your reaction.
But what did the left do? It was Al-Sheikh who did. Hold on. Stop, okay? You said, you said that the left is doing this and that, and you quoted Al-Sheikh.
No.
Al-Sheikh is, just for our viewers to know, this is the police commissioner of the state of Israel, and I will repeat, he's definitely not from a lefty background. He doesn't have no political motivation. He was appointed by Netanyahu, and he did that. What did the left do? We watched it on TV, much like you.
You're reacting to things that I did not say. I did not say Al-Sheikh was left. You keep on repeating that, and it just looks foolish.
No,
I didn't say he
do
was
it on
left.
purpose,
I said the
much
left
like
is
your prime minister.
with this. I said Al-Sheikh, the commissioner of police, is ridiculous for going on public TV and making allegations and charges against the prime minister which are baseless. That's what I said. Then I said the left is having a field day with this because the left is frustrated for not being able to win an election.
How do you come to this conclusion that we do anything? We watched this on national TV last night. That's it. So here is an offshoot debate about the debate on the deportation, the expected deportation of asylum seekers, African asylum seekers. And Prime Minister Netanyahu accused George Soros for funding the opposition to the deportation. Now, some facts lately in the last few weeks, since this program was declared by the Minister of Internal Affairs and was adopted by Netanyahu, there's an outcry by many people, doctors, Israeli pilots, and people from the academia, and other people who say no to the deportation. Netanyahu accused George Soros for, I don't know, making all this happen. These are genuine people, genuine Israelis who are outcrying against this deportation. Now, you know, Ari, what I think. You know, in history, whenever there was a rich Jew, he was always accused for manipulating the society. It was with Rothschild. And now in Hungary, the extreme right-wing government led by Viktor Orban, Bibi's close friend, you know, George Soros was born in Hungary. He suffered the Holocaust, went through the Holocaust in Hungary, and then left to America and made a big fortune. Viktor Orban does exactly what Netanyahu is doing, accusing George Soros, the expatriate, the Hungarian expatriate who had to leave because his countrymen persecuted him during the Holocaust. He is responsible for all the refugee crisis in Hungary. And it's so sad. It's so sad that an Israeli Jewish prime minister is using those arguments who are nothing more and nothing less than anti-Semitic.
Okay, Uri. So this is what you do often. It's not only what you do, it's what the left strategy is, turning everything into Nazis, turning everything to anti-Semitism. So number one, Netanyahu's statement, his source was that he said that George Soros contributes to the New Israel Fund, which is, of course, one of the major funders of the demonstrations. He didn't say that George Soros pays the people in academia or the people wherever you mentioned. That's absolutely false and fabrication, what you just said. He said, Netanyahu said he funds the New Israel Fund.
Which he doesn't, by the way. He doesn't.
Let me finish. Several of the organizations that are with these demonstrations. That's number one. Then you jumped all the way to Hungary to some kind of anti-Semitic Nazi claim, because that's what the left does. They love connecting the dots which are not dot connected. In terms of Hungary, my grandmother was from Hungary. Her whole family was killed and she was kicked out. Therefore, what? Therefore, I'm allowed to get involved in Hungarian politics? George Soros put his hands into Hungarian politics where he does not live. That is what the Hungarian government got involved in. That doesn't mean that I agree with the Hungarian government in terms of their right wing, whatever you want to call it, but that has nothing to do with the complaint against George Soros. And when you're connecting the dots, which are absolutely not connectable, George Soros is right now an American citizen who tried to get involved in politics, not get involved, who tried to affect politics with his money in Hungary. That is what they complained about.
George
okay,
Soros,
not because he's Jewish and not because he's rich. It is absolutely, it's typical.
You say that, and I say that it has a strong connection to the fact that he's Jewish and rich.
By the way, the fact that you can call, I'm very happy using the word asylum seekers now. It's good. We moved down from refugees to asylum seekers. I'm waiting to the next show when you finally admit that they're just here looking for work.
Refugees seeking asylum.
But the point is to call the prime minister an anti-Semite because he said that a person who funds the most radical anti-Israel organizations responsible for funding the demonstrations against these criminals who came into Israel illegally is absolutely ludicrous and a typical strategy of the left, who love to think with their emotions.
Do you ever
and
put a dot?
With no facts.
Thank you. Now, I will say the following, Ari. First of all, George Soros put about 80% of his wealth into his life project, which is promoting universal rights in Africa, in South America, in war-beaten areas. The guy put 80% of his $20 billion wealth into such issues. This is not politics. Excuse me. Let me finish. I just gave you a whole speech. I wanna respond. This guy, you can dislike his ideology of universal rights. I do agree with the premise of his ideology, but you can have a debate. But for a person who invests so much of his wealth in promoting a better world, according to him, you call that politics? Nothing. Yes. Plus, The
Yes.
fact what you just said about him funding the new Israel fund is complete baloney. He doesn't fund
Really?
anything in the new Israel fund. It's just, and the fact that Netanyahu used it. Excuse me, Ari, let me finish. And his
I'm going
son,
to put the numbers up.
his son, Yair Netanyahu, also put together an anti-Semitic nature caricature, cartoon of George Soros and a lizard man and all these, people with big noses and everything, much like the Stimme. I don't think Netanyahu is anti-Semitic. I don't think Yair Netanyahu is anti-Semitic. I think they are dancing with the devil. People like Viktor Orban should definitely not be danced with. People like the Prime Minister of Poland, who just passed this horrible legislation against the Holocaust. These are Netanyahu's friends.
Oh my goodness. Listen, Uri, first of all, George Soros' money went into his
So we're at the conclusion of another Israeli Frenemies, another show. Ari, I hand it over to you.
All right, well, I'm here traveling the North America, United States of America. It's just unbelievable the amount of love and support Israel's getting from people. It is also Jews and non-Jews. It really is heartwarming. So I'm on a 3-week speaking tour here in the United States. I'll be in California this week and then off to the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So anybody out there who watches ILTV, definitely be in touch. I want to thank everyone for watching, and please do leave your comments below and let us know what you think. Don't forget to share us out on Facebook and the rest of your social media channels. I want to wish you an awesome weekend from the beautiful state of Israel, from the beautiful city of Tel Aviv in Israel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.